I would just like to say I agree with young Devin Jacobs wholeheartedly. I am 63 years old, and I think Catcher in the Rye is a terrible book also, and I remember as a young person thinking, this is terrible and a stupid book. I don't get it. Hagerstown. Here's another one from a few days later on the same topic. I just wanted to say that I, too, am in my 60s, and I agree with young Devin Jacobs and the 63-year-old who wrote in to say, or called in to say, that Catcher in the Rye stunk. So much a downer, and the terrible language. I never got the point of reading the story. In fact, I don't know why anybody ever wrote the story. And I feel the same way about all the stuff that William Styron and Saul Bellows put out. What was the point? Life is what you make out of it. Hagerstown. So who the hell is young Devin Jacobs, and what the hell does young Devin Jacobs have against the Catcher in the Rye? Well, Devin is a correspondent for the Herald-Mail's Pulse page, which features teen writers writing about topics of teen interest, which I presume means Justin Bieber, Twilight, and various electronics with names that begin with a lowercase I. And dope. Teenagers love dope. Anyway, Devin wrote a review of Catcher in the Rye for Pulse where she says, Holden Caulfield is a pessimistic person who can't seem to grasp life for what it is and doesn't see the value in much of anything except for children. He is contradictory, and his attention can't seem to stay focused for more than half a page. Holden believes that the people he meets are just nothing but phonies. The irony is that Holden himself is the greatest phony of them all. And there is the reason why I can't stand Catcher in the Rye. Well, at least she's not complaining about the terrible language. Oh. And the vulgarity in the book. Must every other word be a curse of every kind? I get tired of reading sentences that were comprised of nothing but curse words. Had it not been a requirement in school, I never would have read it, nor will I ever read it again. As if that paragraph weren't already enough of an indictment of the English department at Devon's high school, that last line about how she only read this because it was a school assignment is virtually a verbatim repeat of a line in the first paragraph of Devon's review, which I take as evidence of something I believe for quite some time. The Herald-Mail does not employ editors. But besides the preponderance of naughty words and finding Holden none too likable, what else does Devon object to about The Catcher in the Rye? People claim they like the book because it's deep. They only like it because Catcher in the Rye is considered a classic. People like to walk around and say, I am a fan of the classics. Have you ever read Catcher in the Rye? I have. There are better classical books out there. Try finding the classics of quality. First of all, at least in my experience, most of the noses in the air, ascot-wearing types who announce themselves as fans of the classics don't count Catcher in the Rye among their favorites. They go for things like Flaubert, James Joyce, Zola, Virginia Woolf, all great writers, by the way. And they look down on Salinger for being too popular. That same attitude is why snooty film snobs like me are always going on about Tarkovsky and Herzog and Bresson and snorting derisively at the mention of Steven Spielberg. Ashley told me if I snort derisively at the mention of Steven Spielberg one more time, I can pack my bags and get the fuck out. Seriously. Secondly, to attempt to steer this back onto the road, works of art are classics for a reason. That doesn't mean you have to like everything that's considered a classic. There's still your personal taste. I, for one, have never found any use for It's a Wonderful Life or Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. No disrespect to Jimmy Stewart. They're both considered classic American films. And there are surely people who will claim to like something just because they feel it's expected of them. But those people aren't everybody. Books, films, what have you, get to be classics because lots and lots of people reach a consensus that they are truly great. Classic isn't a status that's bestowed on something from the moment it's created, and a book doesn't get to be called a classic if it's as totally without merit as you take Catcher in the Rye to be, Devon. Why do I even have to explain this? Ah, well, there you go. That tells the whole story. Tech high. I bet all the kids at the Barbara Ingram School like The Catcher in the Rye. The majority of people in the U.S. have been for years asking the government to do something about illegal immigrants. Now, Arizona has put in a law to help address this problem, and what happens? There are protests, and even our president has spoken out against this. If you don't like it, leave the country. I believe when American citizens go to other countries, they need the proper paperwork. Hagerstown. Boy, this call is like a laboratory specimen of ugly Americana. First, he starts by appealing to the mob, as though the assertion that the majority of people in the U.S. agree with him makes him right. Then he hits me with the old love it or leave it argument. Then he tries to justify American cops being compelled to stop dark-skinned people and ask them for their papers by saying that other countries would do the same to us. We ought to just drop a bomb on all of them. That'll fix this immigration problem. Returning to the love it or leave it thing for a moment, I can't help but notice there aren't vast migrations of conservatives crossing the border into Canada or boarding planes to Europe in the wake of the President Obama administration. Could that be because they have decided to stay and try to make this a better country, despite their disagreements with the current government? All you Tea Party folks who aren't happy with how things are going just now, why don't you just get the fuck out of the country? What's keeping you here? The same thing that kept people who think like me here during the George W. Bush years, I'd bet.